Okay, so we all know the poster boys of the 40k universe as the Space Marines, given the name Adeptus Custodes, who are pretty much the Emperor's Angels of Death. Though they mostly work for their own Primarch and or their Chapter Master, so if we want to look who really serves the God Emperor, then we should look more at the Grey Knights. A series of Space Marines with a psychic force indicative of that of the God Emperor himself, leading many to believe he is the origin of their gene seed, but that's not enough. What if we could go one step further and see man handcrafted and tailored to the God Emperor's vision? What if we had a Giga Chad? Custodes are literally the Chads of the 40k universe, being able to perform feats of military prowess as if they were literally nothing, though the God Emperor was busy doing other things like abusing his children and preventing the spread of organized religion through the means of organized religion, so much so that he didn't make that many of these guys in the short time before, well, all of this happened.
The stars fall, though it takes the last drop of my blood.
But what the Custodes lose in numbers, they make up for in practically everything else. They are big numbers, the strength fate build, and the Sigma male way to play 40k and kill team. It should be noted that unlike the Space Marines and Grey Knights, these are not Astartes. They're not created via gene seed, but literally made by the God Emperor as his personal bodyguards through life and even true to his own eventual death. Now, while they mostly stand guard protecting the Golden Throne on Terra, they have recently begun taking up missions given to them through visions of the God Emperor, oracles, or even possibly just paranoid schizophrenia from standing in one spot for 100 years. It's really hard to quantify how much one Custodes can really do, but it only took 6 of them to take down 1 billion Tyranids, which is an unimaginable number which can either come off as
Jeez, that kind of feels like, almost impossible. Right? Yeah. I mean, yeah. Right? Yeah, that doesn't seem possible.
Though the same usual caveat that you have with these things, what they make up for in bronze, they really don't make up for in brains. Psychic brains, that is.
So smart, me. Enjoy books so much.
Custodes are pretty vulnerable to psychic attacks, which is hilarious considering their father is the God Emperor of mankind, but they left all the reading to the women. These women who have taken a vow of silence so they can never speak, and their presence alone is enough to unnerve people. Yeah, this was written by a GW employee. The Sisters of Silence are an order of witch hunters and operatives who can specialize in eliminating rogue psychers. They're known as blanks who can disrupt the warp energy around them and negate any psyker powers. Though sadly that's all there really is to them, they always feel like they're tacked on beside the Custodes, since by themselves they don't really amount to much, but they work very well in tandem, covering pretty much all the ground there is on a battlefield with these two. It is also really nice seeing a more utility branch of the military, as they can kill psychers on their own and demons, but with the Custodes they can kill damn near anything.
Son of a bitch.
Compendium kill teams are built different by selecting fire teams, which come with their own range of operatives from their own bracket. So you have 2 Custodes and 5 Sisters, and you're allowed to pick from these twice. The nice thing about having only 4 Custodes is that you only need 1 box of 5 guys to play a pretty fun and a pretty funny kill team. While big guys with big numbers is always lovely, you do have to keep in mind objectives exist, and that sucks, frankly. Sisters can make up for a loss in objective monkeys, while 2 totally not gay dudes go out and murder, though on the other hand you have access to seek and destroy orders which reward you for your murderous endeavors, though it really may not be enough to win against someone who's playing objectives and getting their TAC ops off. Security and recon are also options as well, but you will be going very well out of your way to fulfill either of these conditions. Also, if you only have 4 operatives, you'll have enough time to read through the entire Horus Heresy before you even get an Overwatch off, let alone your next activation, so be ready to sit back and watch your opponent play the game. Now, with all that said and done, take your normal pills, silence those women, refuse to elaborate further, and find out why you should play Talons of the Emperor in Kill Team. A 2-up save is already enough to shrug off the majority of damage in Kill Team, but naturally you have the mortal vulnerability of critical hits. But what if you weren't mortal?
'Tis but a scratch.
A scratch? Your arm's off.
No, it isn't.
Well, what's that then?
Aegis of the Emperor lets you shrug off any critical hits as if they were normal hits for a turning point, turning those moments of shock into moments of, damn. In game, I personally like to imagine a custodian gets a chunk of their skull dislodged and just walks it off like any old headache, which isn't a feat too far beyond the capabilities of even some space marines. This does still mean to prevent this entirely you need a critical save, but a measly 2 or 3 damage from a gun is nothing compared to what could be. Also, there is an obscene amount of weapons in Kill Team that are only impressive due to their critical damage with lethal 5-ups, particularly snipers and melee berserkers, and denying that is a massive fuck you. Gripping Dread is an ability that's almost necessary for the inclusion of Sisters of Silence, as it's simply low accurate, making everyone around them ride in their presence. Again, this had to be written by a Warhammer player. Realistically, this should just be passive, but they get enough passive denial that warrants this of all things being a ploy. The main benefit of this is since your sisters are generally more catered towards close quarters combat, they can weaken opponents even more for your custodians or even an army of more sisters that come along and wipe out the remaining forces. Allowing your custodians to do more damage in their own activation with an APL of 3 can open the doors to such things as move, shoot, shoot, or even in the right circumstances, fight, shoot, shoot, which is funny to imagine that many kills, but once again, we are aiming for lore accuracy here, and we're almost there. This does make fighting a team of 4 custodians all the more terrifying, as you're effectively doubling your fighting capabilities, which is insane considering what these guys can already do with just themselves.
Can you really afford distractions now?
Arcane Genetic Alchemy is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever read in my entire life. If this looks familiar to you, that's because it is. Allowing you to turn a regular save into a critical save for 1 CP is marginally less beneficial than negating all crits of regular damage. The only thing this has going for it is that you can use it on the fly rather than having to play it preemptively, but if your custodians need to suddenly be saved from just 1 crit, then I frankly suggest you reevaluate how you play this team. All in all, I would just recommend using Aegis if you think you'll be under any heavy damage. Also, this is only applicable to your custodians and not your sisters, unlike Aegis, once again. Brotherhood is a vibe check against any enemies who think they can end their turn within range of vicious mockery.
Who the fuck are you?
Unload your shot into an enemy. Fire your load onto... Get behind your opponent and rail... Okay, getting a free attack on an enemy operative at the end of the firefight phase is really good at clearing up any messes still remaining within your line of sight. Overall, a pretty good ability that will give you even more opportunities to fight than you thought you already needed. Talons is a prime example of an ability that encourages you to play a certain playstyle, but also doesn't make it mandatory. Naturally, with this team, you're getting your activations out very early, so in the case that you take sisters, you can keep up that tempo by having a GA of 2 on your sisters and custodians for a turn, which is insane when you imagine the damage numbers. This can also help you set up your sisters to distract an opponent while your custodian gets a killing blow, or even vice versa given the circumstances. Though of course keep in mind that your turns are going to be dragging behind your opponents, so you might want to save for an Overwatch or 2. Additionally, if you are just looking for some extra damage, you can always consider Brotherhood instead, if your opponent isn't going anywhere, that is. The Oath Parchment is very helpful at buffering a final blow and giving you 1 extra chance, if you think your opponent can burn through your wounds that much to begin with. If you are only taking custodians, it's not a bad option, but ultimately it might not serve you any purpose in the end. Tanglefoot Grenade can be really helpful if there's a guy on the enemy team you'd like to subdue for the sake of a seek and destroy tac ops, or even if it's just an enemy team like Hyrotech that relies heavily on just 1 operative. Misericordia can only be used on custodians without a shield, but guarantees a great hold of effectiveness in melee range, much more than what you already have, which is saying a lot. While the spear does fuck at melee range, if you find yourself not taking the shield for memes and instead take the kill option with the spear, then congratulations, because you just found some more kill. The Psych Out Grenade is your only grenade option, and it's only for sisters, but if you're going up against Psykers or Chaos Demons, then you might as well guarantee your victory. No real reason to take it otherwise, but I cannot deny the humor in using it on a guardsman. The Vratine Faceplate lets you block a moderate amount of damage for a 2 EP equipment. 3 is 1 free lasgun shot to the face, completely neglected, and your sisters do already have an above average save stat, so this can be used as an extra buffer before you start taking any real damage. The shield is for any soul nerd who wants to play a Fate Strength build on the tabletop. Being able to discard melee dice like they're nothing along with a 4-up invuln stave is pretty impressive all things considered. The 6-inch range attack is also nothing to scoff at either, as you're able to deal with most rank and file troops who think they can just fuck around. It is still a good idea to close the gap, but the fear in your opponent's eyes when you pull out the measuring tape is unmatched.
But I'm not done yet!
The spear gives you a lot more range potential and is very helpful when doing open play, as its stats can rival some snipers that don't have 20 wounds. The spear is also far more formidable in combat than the blade, but comes with a lot less defensive options, but if you're confident in your armor, then
Rip and tear until it is done.
Both weapon options have lethal 5-ups in melee range, and of course that means more damage, but also you'll be parrying a lot more crits, forcing your opponent to parry even more. Both weapons also gain piercing 1 when ranged, giving your opponent a lot less hope of surviving against 4 dice of doom. Your sister's passive aura of no magic can really shut down some teams like demons or warp coven, pretty much just denying a good portion of their kit. Not only can you prevent a custodes from being attacked by psyker if you're close enough, but you yourself are untargetable in any circumstance that I'm aware of. Bolt gun is the least funny option, but does have its merits for being the only real ranged option, as the other two are very limited by default of being, you know, a sword and a flamethrower. The 3-4 stat line isn't much when compared to the custodes, but that's still an above average and reliable amount of damage for what could be 5 or even 10 operatives. The Flamer has always been a personal favourite of witch hunters and myself alike. The Flamer is your real tool for counteracting hordes, which is what you'd mainly want when you take these guys to fight the inevitable demon hordes, or hell, why not a few guardsmen? The lore implications only make the weapon funnier. The Grey Blade can make for a great option if you want an all melee team with 2 custodes and their backup of little ones with swords, being on par with the custodes blade, making it awfully effective in most melee scenarios. Though unlike the custodes, you don't get all the defensive benefits for going full melee, so you're still going to be a little squishy bean. Something I've always wanted to do was use models from the Dark Souls board game for this kill team, taking both the greatsword option profiles so I can dodge roll my way to victory. And that's the Custodes. Shorter video because it is a compendium kill team and they naturally just have less rules overall, like they don't even have abilities. I wanted to cover this kill team because I feel like it's not really given the attention that it deserves for being a compendium kill team that is actually quite fun to play. Also just wanted to do a quicker video because the videos have been getting longer as we go on. The last one was 20 minutes and that takes a lot of editing, so I wanted something smaller to give myself a break and so that I could get more out even quicker. Also, while I'm recording this, we are currently 1 subscriber off of 600, which is insane considering like 2 weeks ago I was at like 400? The response to the last video has been amazing, and I really can't stress enough how much the nice comments mean to me. It really helps knowing that, you know, people actually enjoy my content. Since I'm trying to upload on a weekly basis now, these afternotes are going to get a lot shorter because I'm going to have a lot less to say because it hasn't been 3 months. But yeah, let me know what you think about the team below. I don't know if there's any other compendium teams that people want me to cover. I'm going to cover them anyway. But do leave your suggestions below. I've seen a few teams being asked for more than others, so obviously I'm going to put some more focus on those. But for now, this is what you're getting because I said so. But until next week, see ya.